she did not say that it is mutually opposite. She said there is a conflict. That's all.
That's point, sir. You're right, sir. There is conflict. Yeah, that conflict is
On one side, we talk about detachment, and on the other
wrong.
side, we talk about we train attachment, something like that. That's what Veena is implying. But again, this statement that we can touch the original consciousness was possible because we discussed this many things. In order to establish the possibility of original mind, we needed at least 20% of the discussions that happened. Otherwise, how will we talk about original mind itself? You try talking to somebody, for example, Veena, the possibility of original mind. Then you will know that it is not that easy for the other person to even conceptualize the possibility of an original mind. Okay, even if he is conceptualized, the purpose is to give as much possible guidance in a given context so that he or she or they, if inspired, will be trying to access that original consciousness based on your guidance. And if you want to give guidance to people, of course, that level of guidance is possible only from one-on-one, only on a one-on-one situation, because every individual has a different mindset configuration. Perhaps Veena is having a pictorial, a visual understanding of so-called recordings and then the original mind. That is why that question. And to that
Yes,
question only Naveen also responded.
yes, sir.
It
Yes, sir.
is
That is
not like
always
that.
there.
It is not like
That
that.
conflict, sir,
It
sir.
is almost like you know, a thing is covered, like first Meenakshi pointed out a beautiful concept using that onion. Already it is onionized. Center point is the original, the core. Already at a given point of time, there is onionized, and every layer of that matters. Not every, but at least significant layers of that matters. They have to be resolved, or at least they have to be cut. If they are kind of a Gordian knot, they have to be cut. But then there are several things to cut. That is why. Finally, at the ultimate level, at the last gate, even the very concept of original mind becomes a block. Right now, you have an understanding about original mind, Veena. That word original mind is there. But if you go to the referent of original mind, then you will see that it is not that easy. There, perhaps like Naveen said, we have to have all kinds of tools to break up on every lock so that the referent of original mind is accessed. The concept of original mind is already clear to you. See the problem. Now you can be clear about referent and concept. The concept of original mind is very clear to you. It is more or less easy, especially at this level of your perception and experiences. But what is the referent of original mind? See, at a preliminary level, that original mind was the mind of that little infant. Just imagine, where there is no impression even of that mother's face. I mean, the way it is there with any attachment. The mind was there also. It is not that mind was formed from external agency. First, the mind was given to the child, and then everything was given. No, no, no. The movements of the hand were already there. That using the movements of hand, you take a spoon, you put your shirt, you eat the food, or you write, or you play piano or violin or tabla and calligraphy and things like that. So if the movements were not there, you just cannot do that. Similarly, the sounding was already present. If the child cannot sound, it cannot be trained to talk a language. So similarly, whatever we imagine, for example, as mind, that potentiality was already there, and that is what we are now talking about. So when we reach that original mind level, things are absolutely different, Veena. In general, a so-called creative individual, not a scientifically creative individual, like a poets, painters, to an extent scriptwriters or music creators or theater creators, they're all little bit sort of beating around the bush of original mind, in the sense that they get that idea from nowhere. That's why, let us say, I think I have warned you also. When we use the concept of genius himself, the referent reality of genius himself is not at all ordinary. It is very extraordinary. You are very likely to become, actually speaking, to tell you openly, you are all, if you all follow or if you all translate your knowing into the reference of what you know, more or less invariably, you will be perceived as a little bit eccentric by almost anybody. Because your responses, behaviors, actions, ways of relating, and ways of language will not be exactly in correlation with the the other people's mindsets about you. Get the point? So this is what I have been sort of warning you from the beginning. But when you become that, you will not be worried about that. That is my guarantee. That's my feeling okay about it. Others may
Yeah,
be worried about that, perhaps, and you may not be worried even when you are aware that others are worried about you. There was a complaint about my training programs even before. I mentioned in that first batch in one of the schools where I did relatively little bit, about 30%, not 30% of the program in a school where our Parvati was a student. Some 12 or 15 people were called back by their parents. I would say they are maybe very sensitive or they are very intelligent in that sense. Point. Two, I just put a stop. I closed down School for Creative Perspective, my first, my dream, which I started as early as 1982 at XLR Jamshedpur, and I sort of did something by about 1995 or so in the name School for Creative Perspective. I lived for that dream, but I stopped it when I realized that one point number one, majority of the so-called trainees were girls. That's okay. In fact, once I told openly, only girls are responding to my advertisement. I advertised in the newspaper. That is okay. But for the information of other people, like Ramesh or maybe Meenakshi or Ashwati or Anuradha or Naveen, every one of that girls, every one of those females they married by their choice, including especially one. Two, three of them, their marriage was already fixed with somebody. One girl's marriage was to happen just after 3 months. All of them cancelled their marriages, and they all wanted to make their own choice of a partner in their life. So a few parents came attacking me. One of the parents made an announcement in all the churches in Ernakulam district that such and such a fellow is doing such and such a training program. Please do not send your children there. I did not do anything. I am actually in a way indirectly answering to the question of Veena only. In fact, Veena might already know I was strongly against the marriage of at least two of them. Though they considered me like so-called whatever guru or whatever, they did not listen to my strong objection, strongly worded objection. What I did was training them in creative analytic perception. But when they developed that creative analytical perception, the females, who were all historically subdued by various mindsets induced in them by the society or by the parents or by the culture or whatever, they suddenly felt that freeness. They felt confident. They took that so-called, let me say, that creative choice or a genius choice of doing whatever. Invariably, without exception. That is the important point. So this way, This is let us say uh, a remote evidence of something, a possible process of contacting the original mind. I am in a way indirectly answering to the question of Veena. So when great knowledge, very great perspectives happen, it is not giving them. I was not teaching them psychology. I was not teaching them any subject. I was just making them think and reflect. That's what the core thing that happened in the training program, which they have never done, which 90% of the educated people would never do in their university classrooms or maybe even subsequently. They chose their freedom. Similarly, when we are talking about the original freedom, like Naveen also pointed out, various ideas are good. And when that ideas work gradually, it is not that they did the marriage when they were students there. No, 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 not at all. As I told you right now in some other context, I told you that you are right now in the runway of this training program. When you take off, then the flight begins. So, the kind of contents that you have been traveling through are definitely powerful enough so that one day the film will stop and you will see the empty screen winner.
So is
Sir,
this so, somebody wants to please?
No, no, Veena can continue because I think
Yeah.
she has a question.
Yeah. So is this the original mind, the observer you were talking about? You
No,
said yeah. What is that?
observer is the attention. Observer is that witness of the original mind as well as the contaminated mind. I mean the mindsets. Observer is that the central aspect. So the Trinity, that is the Trinity, the basic template of the entity or the body assemblage, okay, which generates the consciousness contents, which generates the consciousness upon which the contents are running, and then that or that mirror which reflects it back, so that the consciousness is conscious about whatever it is conscious. So that is not the one. That is a different level. That we will talk a little later. That we mentioned in between. In fact, I think the other day, even without talking about original mind, I was sort of hinting at this, that if you come across that which is witness of everything, if you are flying near the fire of that observer which you refer to, it is little bit dangerous. I said that other day. No, no, this is about the so-called mind only, upon which the so-called empty slate. The first set of presentations sent by Parvati contained an empty slide, and about which she referred to as the original mind, in fact. Then she added something on that and things like that. So, original mind is different. That original mind is sensed by that observer only. The mind is different. Original mind is that whatever is right now going on. And we call it mind, but it is technically it is whatever is in your consciousness now. Whatever is in your consciousness now is the mind. For you, not the original mind. So that is why I mentioned some time back. Right now, you are listening to this, you are reflecting on that at the so-called Freudian parent top layer of consciousness. Beneath that, you know that you are sitting in the room. You have to have dinner, or if it is prepared, you had it, or there is no concern for dinner, or you are aware about your identity that you are this that. Then you are aware about whatever is in the environment, etc., etc. They're all there. They're all there. Half an hour back, it was some different kind of contents. Right now, this. After some time, you will have some other contents. So, in this ongoing variations of contents, what is the terrain? What is that plane upon which or in which this continuous flow is happening? And when this continuous flow is explained as, for example, in Buddha's context, as suffering or causing depression or defeat or underestimation of the self, then you can try to know the so-called truth, or the what is the original non-varying condition of the mind. This way we will come across this again and again. We have come across this even before. We will come across this with much more clear focus when we discuss about variant invariant linkage network. We have come across this at many points of time, because I know my purpose is very simple only. All these are, as Veena said, all these are Gyan. Central truth is very clear. Aham Brahmasmi, finished. You are that. But in order to prove that what is the that, what is the you, and what is the you are, and all that, it will take a lot of dialoguing. That's what we are doing now. In fact, in the very first parable, the axe slipped out of its handle. Till then, the woodcutter was reflecting upon various mindsets. And when all the mindsets were cancelled, then the Satori was trapped, or that moment the Satori clicked. So, but till then, he was working on. And that point we discussed. There also was that moment of no mind we discussed. We did not use that word then, that's all. When the cook was preparing the tea, it was more or less the doing of an original mind. If a little baby cooks a cup of tea, how it would be? You can be definitely sure that even Shogun was in the state of original mind. He has discovered his original mind. As I told you, once you come across your original mind, please do not believe. I am sure like the mental block of unconscious mental block of the images of genius that are still blocking you. It's all possible that the concept about satori or self-realization also is similarly blocked by the consistent images of the so-called enlightened people wearing a different dress and living a different life and continuously talking about the, I would say, the bullshit of Anandamaya. So please do not think that, because that thought will itself will be a block, and on the day when you realize the empty screen, you will know that what I said is true. You cannot stay there forever in the normal sense. Like Patanjali or Vyasa, you just can go and stay alone in a forest, but not in any modern social environment. You have to think about the time, historical time point we are talking about, the Vyasas and the Patanjalis and the Ramana and all that. It was not the modern, what you call, electronic and highly educated place. First of all, we are all blocked by our educational ego, educated ego, identity of being educated, knowledgeable, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That is in the unconscious. It is not the real Nitya sitting there. It is not the real Parvati sitting there. Or rather, it is Nitya, that person, Niti, sitting there. Identity of Parvati sitting there. Identity of Ramanishmanikam is sitting there. So when you come closer to the original mind, at least even by understanding, you will become that much far away even from your identity. You will be a person without any identity, because an identity of no identity. And this does not mean that you will cease to become a mother or a housewife or an officer or a manager or a president or whatever. Okay, no. That is what I said. Do not get into that misunderstanding. Of course, there is a possibility that you may search for an opportunity to get out of all these things. Because you will know the truth of existence. But you can always live as you are living right now. Yeah, all right. So, so by the examples of various levels, I think that Veena's question is clarified. What do you say, Veena?
I have to think or reflect, or I mean, to peripherally, I think I have understood, so called comprehended.
And you want
But
to think about what next? You have already comprehended. Then what thinking you require
yeah,
next?
I don't know whether I have comprehended also. I am not sure. I don't know. I'm trying to rephrase my
No, you have
words.
comprehended the concept.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. But
So
how to?
when
Why
you
this?
you will know, or the way you want to know it, that is possible only when you get it. Right now we are discussing about the tea,
Yes, yes.
but you will know the tea only when you get that thing in your hand.
Yeah,
So you cannot sit there and think about the tea and get the feel of having the tea.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that insistence on getting an idea about the real referent of tea during discussions about the tea may not work, Veena.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, someone else was talking something else. Who was that?
Master, I
So,
had a question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
Niti,
right.
you go.
Yeah, so I was wondering, would you
suggest to prepare others around us.
That is your, I would say, inevitable, even duty, I suppose. But you have to be aware about the accessibility to them or their uh, possible responsiveness to this dimension of existence. I mean, internal existence. We are not talking about internal existence only. Externally, you are working, whatever you maintain it. Definitely, that is why. I mean, that is a choice and a possibility if it is possible. Otherwise, just don't try for that because that can create opposition and animosity even because that search for truth is with everyone, and everyone has that innate sensitivity to those who are closer to the truth. That's why, as I told in the case of children being called back from the program and things like that, they all can feel. There's a that like a good music. Even a non-singer can feel the goodness of that music. Similarly, the people around you will inevitably feel your difference. You think that like a cat drinking milk, closing eyes. I'm telling you, everyone around you already started feeling your difference. I'm very sure about that. You do not know because you cannot identify your difference unless it becomes very obvious or something like that. So you may have to do it, or you may have to carefully, strategically manage it. Otherwise, there could be even problems with the so-called others around you when you try to make them aware of what you are aware of. But but I think that also can be a challenge. But as I told you, human beings belong to that various points of normal distribution curve. And in this case, I have not a single exception that there is the need of a certain destiny even to listen to this level of ideas. Even for my normal training programs in companies, I have always observed that only some kind of an eligibility was present in them. That's why they have come. They happen to be there in the program. Many times, even promised candidates did not come because you are all aware. What are you listening? What are you meditating upon? So, how many people can do this? How many can be even interested in this? Even now, I would like to tell you if you feel there is a problem for continuing in this program, you can drop out. But of course, the fee will not be paid back. I already spent it. Or rather, I have a scheme to spend it.
That's great.
I have already started a project where I have to spend a little money. So, uh, but I am sure you got a great level of knowledge already,
Why not, sir? Why not?
which is priceless, which is beyond whatever money. So,
Exactly.
but I want to say this particularly to Nitya, and I don't want to be very secretive about this. In fact, many meaning in my domain, many people are really convinced that this program is of negative consequences. Point number one, as I mentioned, any girl is very likely to choose her partner unless there are other agreement with the parents or something like that. And mostly the girls, they face a lot of problems with their husbands. I know at least the case of because of certain reason yesterday myself and Amaya were sitting in. At least almost 9 of my so-called trainees are living in some kind of a conflict with their husbands. One got married, I think, almost maybe 1 year. That's all. And that marriage was after 1 year of sort of living together. And that husband has finally given her a commandment that she should never talk about me or never say anything that is learned from me or anything like that. That he said that that moment you can consider yourself out of my life. So that's the
Oh,
situation that happened for her. So I wonder, for example, what is the problem of the so-called husbands? If the wife is so wonderful, I think they should be all the more happy about that. But as I told you, this I would say, if I use the word that creative analytic height of a person, or rather the spiritual clarity of a person, is often very challenging for the other person because that person also wanted to be there. Actually, that is why. Otherwise, why he should bother? If I don't care about money, if Naveen gets a lottery, I am not bothered. So the other person gets into problem because in this case, which I said, 1 year of marriage, that guy is a so-called B.Tech plus MBA working as a senior manager in a company, and he pretends to be very knowledgeable. Visited some 1 or 2 countries, and uh, um, as I told you before, I mostly tell the trainees that by the time they go, I tell them that you are now invincible. Nobody can be above you. Not in role possession and all that, but in clarity of perception. Because referent reality perception itself is enough.
Then there is a like many husbands want to control.
Yeah,
So
that is another
their
thing.
control will be lost.
Control will be
Their
lost.
power to control will be diminished.
Hmm. That's what I
So
told you. 12 or 15 students were recalled from the program.
yeah.
When greater knowledge
Mas-
happens, there's a freedom and there's a general freedom by which people take decisions. And we are talking about a greater knowledge in the direction of coming across or discovering or identifying or differentiating or discerning the signals of that original mind. So it will happen, and this is not necessarily a contradiction, Veena. This is like you need a sword to defeat a sword. That's all. Yes,
Yeah.
Meenakshi. Yeah,
yeah,
Meenakshi.
Master, yes, I had a question first, but that question seems irrelevant now.
But I
But
don't
I
think
would
I
be,
don't know. No question will be irrelevant. You can nevertheless ask it. There could be a reason why
okay.
you wanted to ask that question. What is that reason? So we will understand that reason. So ask the question.
Okay, so the question was, you mentioned the girls who trained under you all made their own decisions later
Hmm.
when they were freed from the mindsets they had when they joined your program.
Yeah.
And you also said that you opposed to their new decisions.
Hmm.
If that came from a changed mindset or from their original mind, why did you oppose it?
Um, Meenakshi, for stupid reasons only.
Okay.
Stupid reasons like the girls' parents came and yelled at me and all those things, and they made an allegation that I was the one who I was giving that direction to them. See, just imagine. They said I was rather inspiring those girls to do like that. That all was not at all a
Mhm.
topic in our discussion.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, what? Two of them, I mean, the boy and girl, they were trainees there. So they thought that they got that facility because of my training center or kind of ideas we discussed.
Mm.
Like that I am talking about Jagan and Indu. Then
Okay.
again the same thing repeated in case of Uma Maheshwari and Prasad.
Mm. Mm.
Uma Maheshwari's parents were so much fascinated about me. They have come all the way from Trichy to Coimbatore to meet me. So much fascination was there. But the same people got absolutely angry with me because Uma married Prasad. So Prasad also was my trainee.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So Uma's mother said, I wanted to get a bomb to kill that man. That's what she told Uma. Which she told me. But I never did anything or said anything. In fact, Uma and Prashant were close even before coming to me. They
Yes.
were classmates.
Yeah, I know.
So, but perhaps she would not have got the decision, I mean, strength to marry him,
Mm.
because that much of opposition was there. Anyway, yeah. So all these are in a way answering in a very beautiful way, an indirect way, uh, giving you non-conscious um, happiness that all this will finally end up taking your flight out of the tarmac to the freedom of genius himself. Sorry, from the runway. That has to happen. If this has happened to so many people, I have never been. I know what I'm uh, talking, and I know the possible, probable directions of your attention. So long as you listen to what I'm talking.
Yeah. Master, can I make a point to
Yeah,
Neeti
yeah,
regarding her question?
yeah.
Okay,
Please,
so yeah, so
come
this is
here.
a candid.
Sorry. Once again,
So this is a yeah. This is a candid statement about my own experiences, having been master's mentee for many years. When I initially started training under master, I had a lot of opposition at home from my husband and my parents, who never liked my going and staying with master, which I did on all my vacations. So, in spite of the fact that I stayed for a whole month with my parents and I spent maybe 3 days at Alandure, it was never liked. But despite their not liking, I would go. And I clearly remember the incident when I decided to buy my Jeep. My husband was extremely upset about it. He was very angry and he openly told me that I cannot buy a Jeep. And he asked me, why can't I be like other women?
It's 21 hours.
And the other women were, some of my colleagues who were at work. So I told him that I'm buying out of my inspiration. And then the next line of argument was that you don't even know how to drive. So it was in that context that I bought my Jeep and learned to drive on it. Now, the continuation of the story is this. In the years after, particularly in the last year, his attitude as well as my parents' attitude towards me has completely changed. I think they have observed the way I behave and are now extremely accepting, respectful, and happy about me. So you may have some initial difficulties, but then people realize the changes in you. And this initial turbulence goes away after a while. So my message to Nitya is, even if there are some rough patches, they too would go away. And more importantly, after a while, that does not matter to you. That too has happened to me. So both ways, the outcomes are good.
Okay.
And I have experienced it. I am experiencing it. The outcomes
Nice.
are only good. They're very good and they're exceptionally good because I see the responses of people to me now and I see the difference. So have
Thank you,
no
Anshi.
worry. Have no
Okay.
worry.
In a way, Nitya is partly lucky because of the timing.
Yeah.
And on the other side, partly unlucky also because of the timing. In the sense that her husband, uh, because this is now an open discussion, because it's about the mind and mind. So I'm sure already he is a wonderful guy. Otherwise, it is not easy to escape from the perception that what is there? She is sitting for about 3 hours late night, We can be genuinely concerned about at least her health. That kind of thoughts are possible. Because right now, already it is 1:30, right? Something like that.
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
So I would say already he is a wonderful guy, no doubt about that. To tolerate that, if it is for 1 or 2, 3 days, it is okay. So that natural because she is all the time there. She is his wife, his companion, and she is sitting there like that. He cannot know what is going on. So just like that, sitting at the mid of night for so many days. So what is going on? Why? Etc. Etc. Normal health concern itself can be an obsession. So
Mm.
it is wonderful that he has already managed that obsession. That is a great point. Otherwise, he could ask every day, when did you sleep yesterday? Oh, 3:30. What are you doing? He can ask a normal question. You have to go for work. Tomorrow morning, you have to get up, prepare the breakfast, and go to the office and come back. And then again, what is this? If it is on a Saturday, it is okay. Now it is on Wednesdays also. What is going on? So, uh, uh,
Yeah, true, sir. Very true.
but if she has accepted at least that, that itself is a great thing.